And Paul Tracy apparently in trouble. The last Penske car and another car into the wall. Another car into the wall.
Vassar. Jimmy Vassar. Wow.
Paul Tracy pulled to the inside just at the same time that Jimmy Vassar was catching the wall to bring out the current yellow. And Paul Tracy against the wall. The yellow comes out again. Paul Tracy into the wall. The rest of the field coming by safely. So now that change in the groove, the change of the track that Bobby Unser mentioned is beginning to tell. Paul Tracy moving in the cockpit, takes the steering wheel off, appears to be okay. Some of the padding in the cockpit, Bobby.
Well, Paul, the track is slippery. That's what we've been saying, and obviously that's what we're going to find out happened to Paul Tracy. There's Roger Penske talking to him now, trying to figure out what went wrong so he can tell Emmo.
So as Paul Tracy climbs out of the car, we are under yellow again. 95 laps are complete. We're back at Indianapolis as we watch the cleanup crews here take care of Paul Tracy's wounded car and also clean up a spill of some coolant that has drifted across the track. There is Tracy as he got into the wall. One report is that he may have been very close to another car trying to get under him at the time. There may be that other car, the 22 car of Scott Brayton, though it doesn't tell in this particular view whether or not that was the issue.
Paul, compare these accidents with last year when the spin started down on the apron and the angle with which the cars hit the wall was much steeper than this. You see, Paul Tracy really only glances the wall the way Al Unser Jr. did a couple of years ago when he was racing Emerson Fittipaldi for the lead down in turn 3. He got away with that one too. I think the track is much safer, but it's much tougher to pass on.
Let's go to the Penske pits, Gary Gerald.
Roger Penske coming down. You have a chance to talk to Paul, any indication what the problem was?
Yeah, he told me on the radio, he said he was down under Scott Brayton, and Scott moved over on him. He had to cut down, I guess, on the shoulder and lost control of the car. I haven't been able to see it on television, but I'm sure you can see it there.
Is there any indication, are the changes in the track making it tougher for your drivers this year?
No, I think everyone's really looking out for each other. They're giving each other the room they need. You can see it in the lap times. We're running a 2:05 to 2:09 is a real good lap time. So basically the track has slowed everybody down, but it's the same for everybody out there.
Is Emerson happy?
Yeah, right now, yeah, he was running 2:09 there that last segment. It was good and bad luck in that accident because it put Emerson back around because we got caught on that yellow when he came in, and then it went yellow right after that.
But at least better than last year when both of your cars went out at the same time. Thank you, Roger.
Thanks.
Paul Tracy hit the wall earlier. Now he's with Jerry Punch.
And he hit it awfully hard, Paul. Paul, a tough afternoon for you.
Well, we were out there running pretty good, and I was trying to get by Brayton, and we went side by side down the straight and went into 3 together, and he clipped my front wheel with his back tire, and it knocked the front wheel out of alignment and went straight up in the wall. I feel for the crew and all the sponsors, Marlboro Racing. It's a tough day. We were running good, and we'll be back at Milwaukee.
You hit awfully hard. You got some marks on the uniform here. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I got some marks, and I'd say the biggest thing that's hurt is my ego. So we'll be back next week, and we've been out testing Milwaukee, and I think we're ready to go there.
Paul Tracy.
Of course, ABC Sports will be there too. The Miller Genuine Draft 200 next week at Milwaukee on the famous Milwaukee Mile. You got a glimpse there, Bobby Unser, of how the two did get together. And I guess my question, Bobby, would be, what about Brayton's car?
Well, it was in the rear. The rears on these cars are a whole lot stronger than the front. Paul Tracy got touched with Brayton by where his car's really weak. And it only takes just a fraction. Like Danny Sullivan was thinking that something happened to his. It only takes a fraction to throw them out at more than 200 miles an hour. They just zapple right into the walls.
All right, now speaking of the Penske team, Paul Tracy, one of the 3 drivers for that team, yesterday got into some pretty serious trouble as he was practicing up in turn 3. Now watch here as he heads into the corner, and all of a sudden he loses control of the car. Down across the infield grass, and then up to the wall again, a solid hit, and he slides all the way across the track and back down to the inside barrier, and at this point he was unconscious.
All right, now watch it here, Paul. Here's a slow-mo coming up here. He comes in at the bottom left of the screen. There you can see. Now he went into the turn way too early, turned too early. He's out of the groove, too low. Now watch the rear tires making their own tracks right there. Now, keep your eye on the right rear of the car, the right rear. It'll light up with smoke about right now. He's under full power. It broke loose right there, all his own fault. Then you saw the right front light up. Now he's out of control, obviously, sliding across the racetrack. He'll go across the infield, of which you don't see that quite as much, but there's still a turn there. He went in there about 240 miles an hour. Watch his head. Boom, he hits it. His head went clear forward, hit the steering wheel. Watch it, he hits it again. Watch his head again against the steering wheel. Now, the shoulder harnesses are tied up against his shoulders. His head was stretching that far. Now, he was obviously already unconscious when those first hits happened.
And then finally the car ends up resting against the inside guardrail. Now the good news is that Paul Tracy was taken to Methodist Hospital of Indiana. He stayed there last night, but he has been released this morning. And of course, any delay in these proceedings today only puts that much more time between Paul Tracy and that accident.
And we understand Paul Tracy is in the pits.
Now Paul Tracy a little bit further north in the pit area. When he came in, he stalled. That's one of the Mercedes-Benz engines. And look at this.
Paul Tracy.
Smoke out of the Mercedes of Paul Tracy.
Now, Tracy was back in 13th place. He was not probably positioned to win the race. But this could be the first weakness shown by the Mercedes program. Looks like Paul Tracy in trouble.
Paul Tracy on the pit road at first, now on the backstretch.
There's the yellow. This is going to cause.
He was running 8. That's green right now, not yellow yet. We'll see what it does. Maybe he can limp in.
This is the remaining Newman-Haas car. We spoke of their bad luck as a team here at Indianapolis. They started in 1983. They've never won the race. This was their last hope after Michael Andretti went out, and now things not looking good.
Paul Tracy pulled down onto the runoff lanes. Report his engine was dead as he pulled off.
As he went by us, Paul, his engine was already dead.
So let's get an update on Paul Tracy from Gary.
We're told, Paul, that the throttle cable broke on Paul Tracy's car. That's the reason why he's limping toward home.
Phenomenal.
And up in the Paul Tracy pit, they cannot make it either, Vince. They're looking at about 4.5 to 5. We're in Dario Franchitti's pit right next to Paul Tracy, and they're concerned about fuel mileage here a little bit as well. But as these laps unfold, it'll be very interesting here for Team Green. Let's go back to Bob.
Castroneves in a car that has to be running on fumes now with Paul Tracy all over the back end.
And you heard Paul's radio before, go full rich, and what that means, full rich, the fuel's getting all the motor's getting all the fuel that it needs. It's going to produce maximum horsepower.
Full rich is power. Onto the front stretch in Indianapolis. Tracy.
Point flag next time. That's it.
Leader's been told to use full rich if he has to. He just said that's the guy.
And in the Penske pit, Paul, they are sweating bullets, literally. They know the white flag's up next time die as Tracy stalks and closes.
Tracy looks to the outside. Whoa, and the car in trouble right down against the wall. White flag, yellow flag are going to come out together.
Paul, that is the race right there. He ran just a spurt of fuel, and Paul Tracy's going to get it.
Scoring goes back to the previous lap. Wilbur Shaw, Maury Rose, Bill Vukovich, Al Unser, all have had back-to-back wins. Castroneves may be about to add his name to that list. Oh, agonizingly slow. And of course, Tracy looking for any opportunity, any falter at all. He's done it. Elio Castroneves played the economy game and wins the 86th Indianapolis 500.
And I am with Barry Green. And Barry, a little bit of controversy. You're saying your spotters and even your co-driver, Dario Franchitti, says your driver, Paul Tracy, was passed.
Well, Dario wanted to get out of the way and not inhibit the race at all. He pulled over. He saw the whole thing.
Castro Neves is clearly running out of fuel, and he must have run out of fuel going into 3, and Paul just blew by him, and then there's a yellow, so we'll have to see.
So from your viewpoint, Paul had already passed Castro Neves before the yellow came out.
We believe we passed Castro Neves before the yellow came out.
Let's go back upstairs.
That judgment doesn't matter. Castro Neves goes for the fence again.
All right, thank you, Jack. Paul Tracy, got to be elation, relief, frustration. What a sensational run.
It was a great run for the Big Gulp 711 car, and I got to thank all our sponsors, Chevy and Klein Tools, and everybody involved in everything, Firestone. I didn't have a great car today, but at the end there, I caught Helio on the last lap. I passed him on the back straightaway going into 3. I passed him around the outside and came around, and you know, they said that it was under yellow, but I didn't see the green was still up. In my eyes, I saw the green, and you know, so we're going to protest and see what happens, because I feel that I was ahead of him when it went yellow, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Earlier, and we heard you you were very upset about the caution that came out late in the race, and that there were maybe in some passing under the yellow there.
Yeah, well, Giafoni, it looked like he was committed to the pit lane. It went yellow again, and I passed him on the track while he was in the pit coming in the warm-up lane, and then he came back and passed me around in turn 1 under yellow, and they gave him that position as well. So it's hard work racing those guys. They're not easy to get by, but you know, the crew did a great job today, had a good car, and you know, we're going to protest this thing because I feel I was ahead when the yellow came out.
All right, we'll let you know what happens there. Let's go back to Victory Lane and Jackaroo.
Well, you know that Team Green, Paul Tracy, they have filed a protest regarding their position in the final standings. Now, at the top of your screen is the crash involving Laurent Redon, and we have synchronized our tape machines to the exact second. So Redon was crashing into the wall, Scott Goodyear, and at that point, Paul Tracy was running behind Helio Castro Neves.
Bob, you can certainly clearly see that. And the other thing I'd like to point out on it, even though that Tracy thinks that he was ahead of him before the crash happened, the finish at the Indianapolis 500 is unprotestable, as I learned back in 1995. But we can clearly see here that Helio Castro Neves is in the lead.
Now here is in slow motion the pass that Tracy pulled on Castro Neves at the end of the backstretch going into turn number 3. And you will see as the cars come around the 3rd turn, we will spot shadow and show you that the yellow light is on. There's the yellow light right there.
And Bob, that is certainly a violation of the rules, and Helio Castro Neves certainly did win this race today.
Now here once again is a documentation of what happened on the last lap. You see the cars of Helio Castro Neves and Paul Tracy coming out of turn 2 and coming down the backstretch. Now we'll roll the tape here and show you when the crash occurs. On the left, watch Laurent Redon crash. There's the crash, and now Paul Tracy later pulls out to pass Helio Castro Neves. By the way, also involved in the crash was Buddy Lazier. We understand they are both okay.
All right, Barry Green back at Indianapolis. We showed a moment ago that Paul Tracy had not made the pass when the accident occurred, and had not gotten all the way by when the yellow came out. So Helio, I guess, would be indeed the winner.
Yeah, Jerry, obviously it looks like it was very, very close. You know, I just had a couple of drivers come down and tell me that he was passed, but you guys have got some pretty good footage there. My only question is when the yellow came on, but it appears that your people saw the yellow come on before he completed the pass, and if that's the case, Helio is in first.
Okay, Barry, thank you much. Let's go to Vince Welch. Vince?
A little bit further back in this field, remember Paul Tracy? Well, he has moved himself into the top 10 in that number 15 machine for KV Racing. And right behind him is Danica Patrick. Of course, Paul, as you see Vitor Mira go through, he is right ahead of Tracy in the 9th position. There is Paul as he makes his way through the corner, and he still feels that he won the 2002 race and he has some unfinished business here. He's got a chance to rectify it today. There really are 2 groups right now. It's the first 6, then there's a little bit of hole to 7th. Jack, you've got more?
Yeah, Paul Tracy is having his race today called by his good friend and the man that convinced him to come back to Indy, Jimmy Vasser, on the left-hand side of your screen. He and Tracy sat down and talked this race through yesterday afternoon. They determined that what they were going to do is kind of like they did in the Kentucky Derby, where the Calvin Burrell held the horse back until the final moments. Vasser and PT are, and I quote, cruising right now. Jimmy just told me we're not going to show what we've got until lap 150. Interesting, huh, guys?
Yes, it is, Jack. Very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see if that is able to be played out, because as you mentioned earlier, you make this plan, and 9 times out of 10, it changes fast.
But he got into his rhythm really quickly, so I think Paul has a...
Oh, and we've got another crash here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Now Howard is on the bubble. After that, it's Paul Tracy that is on the bubble. And then Tony Kanaan. After Jay Howard, again, 223.8 is the speed that Takuma Sato is looking for, and Paul Tracy is in the qualifying line.
And that was what I was mentioning, is if you get this kind of leapfrog thing going, all of a sudden you say, well, there's only 3 cars to get in. Well, not when you start bumping them out. People get refired, and all of a sudden you get this ratcheting of speed.
Paul Tracy remains on the bubble, and there he is. Will he withdraw his speed?
Guys, I'm standing down here right now. They've just signed the paper. They have fired it, and you're about to hear it. He's on it, on his way out. He's withdrawn.
So who does that put back in? That puts Howard back in.
Jay
Howard's
Howard.
back in.
You bet.
Now, did you notice that the craziness in line there? I saw all of Jay Howard's guys in their yellow shirts kind of saying clearing the way, meaning he's coming down pit road, and he's going to get back in that line.
Yeah.
You bet.
So
there
Paul,
he is.
Yeah. Paul Tracy is rolling the dice here. He's withdrawing his previous speed. He is not in the race right now and must get an average of 223.610 or better to get in.
But also remember, Tracy has a good gauge. His team car with KV Racing is Sato, and Sato just went out. And what we heard from Jimmy was they're all running similar setups. So I think, again, that confidence carries over to saying, okay, Pete.
Yeah, but Paul has struggled more than Takuma in the heat. So this is risky. As it was for Eric Bachelard and Romancini. Makes it good, though.
The last 2 years, we have seen some excitement, and I don't remember it being that way the previous 5 years. Past that, I can't remember. Prior to that.
Very green. Oh! Did he rub it? If he didn't, he came close.
He's got his leg in it. PT.
Remember, if he touches the wall, he's not in the race because he withdrew his time.
Right.
That's right.
Green flag comes out. 10 miles for Paul Tracy to get back into the field.
Which is a totally different game that we were watching yesterday at this time, because those top 9 guys were all guaranteed, and they didn't have to withdraw their time to better their time.
Right.
He turned in at 227.1 into turn 1. Now here's where there's a tailwind. We've seen big numbers from his team car. That was 230 even. Oh, he's high again!
And it got loose, and that is where the wind's hitting you. As soon as you come off of 3,
this may bite them. He might have taken himself out of the Indy 500.
223.704. That is good enough. It's good enough. 223.610 is what he needs. Oh, and get an exit off the corner very high. 7 minutes to go in qualifying.
So if he can't maintain this, do you wave him off and say, come on in, and we try and get back in that line? I don't think
he's losing speed. He's losing speed. He's down to low 223s now.
It's not good. So again, so do you get a yellow and get him off the track and get him back in and get him, represent him, hopefully?
Good question. All right, let's take a look at the second lap. It's 223.070, and now he is below what's needed.
Jay Howard is back in this show as it sits right now.
Wow. They're going to wave it off. They're going to abort the run. He's got one more.
That's what he's saying. That's just what he's saying is.
But is there time? Remember, if there's an incident on the track,
Oh boy, he was in it. No, Sarah, you're back in.
Safe,
you're
Sarah.
back in.
You're okay. You're back in.
For the moment, you're okay. But Paul Tracy is not. He withdrew his speed, took himself out of the race, and didn't make the run fast enough.
Okay, watch.
This was the first time that he got into turn 3 with the tailwind, and that was
close. And it was it's the next lap after that that it really got. I mean, it steps out.
Right here, I think it is.
Just flies. That's when they talk about it. Just flies on you.
Yep. Yep. Okay, watch. This is that next lap. Watch this. There, it gets sideways.
Yep.
Doesn't just brush up, it gets sideways.
Not due to lack of trying.
Wow, can you believe Paul Tracy may not make the race?
Nope.
Go, Jack.
It's the longest walk that Paul Tracy probably has had to make in quite some time.
I mean, I just got to thank the KV team. The car was quick all week when it was cold. It was quick this morning when it was cold, and as soon as the track temperature came up, we just couldn't get the handle on it. And
Paul, take me through the thought process in withdrawing the car.
I was just sitting in the car, and they made the decision, we're not going to sit on the bubble, we're going to go out and run quicker in the car in this temperature. We couldn't get it done, so hats off to TK and the guys that got it in the show. When we needed the car to run in the heat, it wouldn't run. It wasn't for a lack of trying. We threw a bunch of changes at it. The car was just sliding all over the place, and that's life.
Now you go out there, the car's been withdrawn, it's all on your shoulders, and you had multiple moments in the cockpit.
Yeah, no, I was hanging on. And when you're sliding like that, you're just scrubbing speed off. But I got to thank Geico and all our sponsors, and Monster and Ride Tech, everybody that was involved in helping us out here. It's cuts deep. This is all the preparation that I did to get ready for this. It's just it's a hard blow.
When do you think it'll fully sink in?
I don't know. I mean, we're still working on our Canadian deal, and hopefully we'll get that, and we're going to announce that coming up, and just be a long drive home in the motorhome, that's for sure.
All right, let's go to Lindy Thaxton.
Paul Tracy into the pits. This is an unscheduled pit stop here on lap number 21.
And they're making adjustments to his front wing.
And they've got a problem. The engine has been shut off. Let's go back. Maybe we can see exactly what happened to Paul.
There he's in the middle of the turn, a little high off the white line, the low side up into the gray, and yes, he's going to tag the wall just with that right side, and the yellow is now out.
We've got yellow for the first time, and Takuma Sato from Japan has hit the wall and has brought out our first caution.